Welcome to iMPAKTBase. Let's take a quick look at how to complete this. This is all about you designing what the future looks like. To do that, we're going to say, what does today look like and what does the future need to look like? And then after that, we will bridge, how do we go from current state to future state? So to complete this, you need to complete all the blocks that are shaded in yellow. So let's start by selecting your name. So select your name. Let's say we're Shaylee. We'll then identify that she's a project manager, the function she belongs to, and the team and sub-team, as well as confirming she works a full-time week. If this is correct, select correct. If it is incorrect, indicate that it's incorrect, and please email to let us know what the errors are. You will notice over here that the current and future state blocks say 0. This is because nothing has been completed yet. We're going to use these two blocks to sense check that we have completed this accurately. One would expect the output to be something between 40 and 50 hours. It's way over like 120 hours, suggesting that one doesn't even sleep during the week, so there's probably an error. And likewise, if it's only coming back at 20 hours, then it probably suggests that something's been omitted. So how do we complete this? We move from left to right, and every single line identifies an activity and sub-activity that one participates in, and you get to have a comment on what your perception is of that activity. One then identifies the amount of time one currently spends on the activity and the amount of time that one thinks one should spend in the future. Let's do an illustrative example. Shaylee, as we know, said that she was in project management, so this came up with a list specific to her as the project management team member. So let's just say that she went for weekly time reports. And within that, there would then be a series of sub-activities. Now, one might participate in one or all of these. If one participates in more than one, for each one activity that one participates in, there needs to be a new line. So there was discrepancy checks. She would select discrepancy checks. But let's just say she also had another activity within the weekly time reports that she did. Perhaps it was report compilation. So for every line, as you can see, she would create a new line for activity that and sub-activity that she participates in. And then it's just a comment, and don't overthink this. The first thing that comes to mind is usually the right answer. What type of activity is this? Routine, we do it regularly, or is it just random and ad hoc? Oh yes, we do this routinely. The type of activity. Well, it's a pretty standardized process as well as the output, but there are quite a few variations, but they're mostly known. So we can just select that. How important is it? This is important is it to your team delivering the ultimate objective? Some things that teams do every single day are not necessarily creating value, but they're consuming time. So this is a good way to identify how important is this relative to ultimately achieving a goal. So very necessary as part of business as usual. This is then about efficiency. Oh yeah, I think that there is some efficiency, but there is some duplication. Or it's all done in Excel at the moment, so it's all pretty much manual. Yes, the process is pretty standardized. There's very few interventions, and the output is also mostly standardized. Only recreate some parts. Sometimes a magic wand is, if I had a magic wand, what would I do to change this? Make it better. Maybe there's nothing, but maybe, Shelley heard there's a great app, right? There's an app that would do this called Pink. She would put that in there. Perhaps it's not really her role, or she thinks that there's a role that's better positioned to do this. So she would say, reallocate to admin team. So this is the opportunity to add in that magic wand moment. And then she does this on a weekly basis. She spends 5 hours a week and just thinks this is way too much time for this type of activity. And in the future, whilst I need to do it on a weekly basis, I really only need to spend 1 hour a week. And optionally, if there are any other comments to add. And so you would literally move from left to right to make sure that this all got completed. So we go from left to right, again, for every single activity. And if it was an example of something that you currently do maybe on a daily basis and you spend 1 hour a day, but you think in the future you should really only do it monthly for 1 hour, this is your chance to say that. Or maybe you think you shouldn't do it at all, put 0. Perhaps something that you do today, not that you do not do today. So you put 0, but in future you think that you should spend 4 hours a month. And so you move from left to right. As one moves from left to right, I need to hit the F9 button. One can see as one completes it that it is in fact dating the number of hours you've currently allocated and the number of hours you've allocated in the future. And that is how one sense checks this. You will notice that the visualization of the pie chart is currently not visible, but once it's submitted and I send it back to you, you'll be able to see what your current and future state is in order to sense check it. Input number 2 is very simple. One needs to just simply answer these questions, selecting the first name that comes to mind. There's an option to add a second name. Really, just one name is enough. The second name is just if you would like to. Then there are some other questions that allows one to add any ideas you'd like to share and skills you'd like to develop in the future or use that you're currently not using. The checklist simply ensures that you have completed user input 1 and user input 2 correctly. And then once this is done, you simply need to email it back to me on my email address, and then we will be able to move on to the next step. Welcome to iMPAKTBase. Looking forward to your submission.